This is one word, two syllables. Ridiculous, right?
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Unfiltered Truth. It's your boy, Phil Robb. It's been a minute since we've gotten down. We've got a winning streak to talk about. We've got a bunch of things to get into. Davante's big day at the press conference, all that and more. But today we got a special guest. We got our dear friend and Raider content creator premier, Midtown Mo. Mo, what's up, baby? How you doing?
Appreciate you having me on. I wish I had both Phils on here, man. Like I like the mono thing. Is cool because we go way back. We go back years, so many years. Shout out to Phil Jones, by the way, not here doing his own thing, but good to be here with you, talking Raider football. Of course, a lot to get into. Some Raider fans not happy, some Raider fans happy. I'm here to not sit in the middle on the fence, but just give it straight, give it 100.
Ain't going back and forth with you niggas. I'm living my best life.
It wouldn't be a Victory Wednesday without the victory wiggle, baby. Phil Jones is always going to be here close by and at my beck and call, at my fingertips.
I promise you.
You know I would never lie.
As Jones would say, good morning, peasants, for the people on. For the people waking up and listening to this in the morning.
Good morning, peasants.
Good morning, peasants.
Oh, the winning streak. The good news first. The winning streak. We put together a couple games. The defense. You and I haven't had a chance to really speak in a while about what actual football. And the defense to me has been the story. And I went back and I crunched some numbers, and something jumped out at me that was pretty interesting for all those who would detract from the performance of this defense. They haven't given up more than 20 points without the offense turning the ball over twice.
You know what's funny to me? And I think Alex Manfredo, one of your cohorts over there at the Ramble, said, you know how hard it is to do what the Raiders defense is doing, no matter who you're playing? What kind of grinds my gears is when people say, oh, the defense is only playing well because they're playing lesser competition, right? But you can only play you can only play with who's on the schedule.
Yeah.
You know, that's what the schedule says they have to play, and that's what they're going up against. So what I'll say is this, and I said it on X. At one point, people were saying the Raiders defense is the get right game. And at one point that may have been true. That's no longer true right now. And Max Crosby is leading the charge. Bilal Nichols, credit to him for sharing that safety with Max Crosby to get that walk-off 2 points and get the Raiders over 20 against the New England Patriots. But you're starting to see some growth, not just up front, but Trayvon Merrick, who I criticized a lot at the beginning of the year, is starting to come along. It seems like now every other game he's getting a pick. And you talked about the defense being a surprise. To me, the linebacker corps specifically is playing a lot better than I thought it would play, because I remember being on with you saying the Raiders have to do something with their linebacker group. But Robert Spillane and Davante Adams, they look like a pretty good duo to me in the middle of that defense.
That's been mind-boggling, mind-blowing. It's just been incredible what they've been doing, what Patrick Graham's been able to get out of them. And since he made the move up to the booth, the defense has improved light years. It's been a breath of fresh air. You run and you crunch the numbers and look at where they are in terms of yards, in terms of passing touchdowns, because for as bad as this passing defense is supposed to be, they've only given up, 5 touchdowns through the air?
5 touchdowns through the air, I believe. Actually, 8 touchdowns through the air, and they're eighth, and they're eighth in passing yards allowed per game. So they're actually within the top 10 in passing yards per game. When's the last time you could say that about a Raiders defense, regardless of who they're playing? Because I seem to be old enough to remember when mediocre to below average offenses used to carve up the Raiders defense. Again, that's not the case anymore. So you got to give the defense its credit, and also Patrick Graham, because I know a lot of people are wondering, should even Patrick Graham be the defensive coordinator of the Raiders this year? People saying maybe he should be fired, let go after the 2022 season. I think he's showing that he belongs in that spot, up in the booth, not on the sideline, though.
Absolutely. I couldn't be more proud of Patrick Graham, and he doesn't need my stamp of approval, but he's going to get it anyway because I like you, between Trayvon Merrick, between some of the other guys that were here that aren't producing, between the scheme, the guys playing at 9 to 10 yards off the ball on third downs, which drives me absolutely batshit crazy. It's working, and it's not just that it's working well. This rate, because as we're talking about it being a middle of the pack defense, I said this was a middle of the pack defense 2 weeks ago, and I bet you could only imagine what my mentions look like about how many people telling me about how I was putting out troll tweets and had no idea what I was talking about. They have literally gone from almost 30th down at the bottom to on their way to the top 10 overall in 3 weeks.
So the Raiders defense has come a long way from zero coverage against the Rams on that embarrassing Thursday Night Football loss, is what you're saying to me. It sounds like that's what you're saying to me. Just a little bit. But it's a little bit of Patrick Graham. I believe someone emailed on Silver Black Today with Scott and I. Someone had a pretty good email, and they said Patrick Graham is now playing to the strengths of his players. So I don't know if you saw this on X. There was a chart out. The Raiders are playing a lot more cover 3. Now, I don't know what the issue was early in the season, but let's remember that the Raiders were a cover 3 defense under Gus Bradley not too long ago now. A lot of the guys are different, but let's remember that a lot of the guys that are stepping up right now are from the previous regime drafted under Gus Bradley. So I think part of that is realizing the strengths and what works with his players. There is some scheme adjustment there, but it's also, as we mentioned, Trayvon Merrick, Max Crosby, Bilal Nichols, the linebackers. They're also players that are actually just making plays out there. It's not always just scheme. It's not always just play execution. Got to be a mix of the two.
No, absolutely, and they're doing it well. They're doing it well. Everybody's coming together. They're being led. Their leader is out there leading. They're defensively. They're hunting. I'm curious to see what they're going to continue to get in terms of Wilson's development, because people are pointing to the numbers, and I get it. I get the numbers aren't there. I get it, but I'm seeing a guy who is every bit as productive, if not more productive, than Chandler Jones was last year.
Definitely comparable to the first half of Chandler Jones' 2022 season, because Chandler Jones, for his track record, wasn't giving you much. But when you look at a rookie who missed just about all of the offseason recovering from a foot injury and what he's had to deal with, you like to see incremental steps in the right direction. Now, as you said, the numbers aren't there yet, but I think that comes with experience. I had Matt Holder on, my fellow Bleacher Report cohort, and we said we're not going to really judge Tyree Wilson harshly until we get to the middle of the season. So we're entering that territory now where we get into week 7 against Chicago Bears, the Detroit Lions the following week. I believe the Jets and the Giants are coming up. That's where I'm going to look for Tyree Wilson to make a bigger leap, because now you've had 2 months to kind of get your feet wet and make some football plays. I know a lot of people have been hard on him, including my guy Baldy, who's with the Odyssey family. But you got to look at, again, incremental steps for a rookie who didn't have a lot of the offseason to get some of the basics and the technique down after coming off of an injury. So I would look for Tyree Wilson to have a stronger second half of the season, hopefully, than the first, because, again, a lot of bad tape in the first half of the season, but you can't blame him. Again, he's getting his feet wet. Just give him some time.
And there's bad tape, yes, but there's also good tape and things to be very, very optimistic about. And watching him play, to those who really know football, yes, you're looking for him to close that gap as the number 7 overall pick, but the physical tools that are there are things that you cannot replicate. There is not another defensive. Excuse me. Let me walk that back. There are very, very few defensive ends like him in this league. And if they stay in the wide 9 technique, he'll absolutely kill. If they eventually slide in, once he puts on probably about 10 to 15 pounds next year, gets on the strength and development plan for an entire year, as well as working to get his explosiveness back and the structural dexterity in his foot. Because a lot of people still want to just assume that because he's out there, he's 100%. And the answer to that is he's not.
Absolutely. And I actually talked about that a lot, where I think he'd be also effective if he can move inside in sub packages. So a lot of people say, well, Mo, why are they going out for a pass rusher? You're taking snaps away from Tyree Wilson. Let's not forget that the plan was to have Tyree Wilson, Max Crosby, and Chandler Jones on the field at the same time on some of these snaps and some of these packages. They don't have Chandler Jones there anymore. Malcolm Kuntz is still a young player, but they wanted a veteran out there along with Max Crosby and Tyree Wilson to get the three of them to get after the quarterback. So I think the Raiders will make a move before the trade deadline. I'm not saying that it's going to be a big name like, Brian Burns or Daniil Hunter, but I think they're going to bring in a veteran to, again, help Tyree Wilson come along, and so that they can fit him on the field with two other pass rushers who can get after the quarterback. So you're developing your young player, your first round pick, and you're actually getting production right now as you're competing to get, in the playoff picture at 3-3.
No, I agree. And the fact that they're on this winning streak is, as while Davante may want greatness, this defense is taking the 1% approach, and which is the proper approach for any young team trying to get better and get to where they are. Now they have they got arguably the face of the franchise in Max, which is the leader that everybody is following, and he's leading them down the right way and down the right path. And so kudos to him. You all know his story. I could care less about the story and every bit about the production, the preparation, and how he goes about his business. And the way that he goes about his business is setting the example that is going to propel them to greatness, because he's looking to achieve it himself.
This is why I'm against the whole tear it down, because there were a lot of people that expected the Raiders to be sellers at this point in the season. A lot of people said, oh, they're going to sell their parts. See what you can get for Davante, see what you can get for Max, see what you can get for this guy. You got a bona fide leader on your offense and defensive side of the football. You got Max on defense. Obviously, you got Davante, who spoke on Wednesday on offense. So why would you deconstruct that? Those are your two pillar pieces to build something, sustainable. You don't give those away, regardless of where you are, regardless of what your record. I don't care if there is 1-5. You try to keep those players because it could turn around very quickly. I remember the Detroit Lions in the first half of the season. I believe they started off last year 1-5, right?
Yep.
So I'm sure their fan base is like, sell off parts. Jerry Goff ain't it. Let's move on. Let's tear this down. Where are the Lions right now? They're 5-1, leading the division, running away with the NFC North. A lot of people are picking them as a trendy pick to get far in the playoffs. I'm not saying that the Raiders have the same makeup as the Detroit Lions, but I'm saying it can turn around that quickly when you have leaders and foundational pieces in place.
Absolutely. And the other thing to that is you got a coach who is a leader of men. Those guys are ready to do some real grimy things out in Dirty D for Dan Campbell.
Bite kneecaps. I'm not sure.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm not sure that I know Josh McDaniels isn't that guy, but like I said, sometimes talent can overcome coaching, and let's hope that Josh McDaniels is gonna prove us wrong, because I like many Raider fans out there, I have my doubts. But when you have the playmakers in place, you can overcome a lot.
And now there was a question that I had, but the particular direction of the season will steer me away from that for now. I will offer a name that I had not previously considered, that was mentioned to me, that I had to stop and really consider. But Byron Leftwich.
The thing with Byron Leftwich is, right, he had Tom Brady. Now Tom Brady was at the tail end of his career. I didn't see enough out of that offense, even with Tom Brady at the end of his career, from Byron Leftwich to consider him. I would like to see him go somewhere else and have some level of success with an offense where it's high level, where it's on the level with Ben Johnson in Detroit, or Shane Waldron over in Seattle, or even Bobby Slowick. Look at what the Texans are doing, right? first year Bobby Slowick is doing what he's doing with CJ Stroud. Now, part of that is CJ Stroud, but part of that is also scheming and game planning. So I just want to see Byron Leftwich away from Tom Brady, away from Bruce Arians. What can he do when the offense is his? Kind of like what Eric Bieniemy is doing right now in Washington. I actually like what he's doing with Sam Howell. Sam Howell was a 5th-round pick, and look, the Washington Commanders are actually competitive with Eric Bieniemy over there. So if Byron Leftwich can kind of follow in that same pathway, then I will put him on my radar.
Interesting. That's more or less about the line that I had. But when you talk about winning a Super Bowl with Tom Brady, that brings us to the current coaching staff, and you could apply most of those very same principles, except for the 1 year that Mac Jones actually looked like a real NFL quarterback.
It's funny you say that. You bring up Mac Jones because I had a Bleacher Report Live on Wednesday, and I actually thought that people were going to tar and feather me for bringing up Mac Jones as a potential target for the Raiders down the line. But I'm not here sitting on your show calling for Mac Jones on the Unfiltered.
Please don't.
But
I won't be able to have you on again.
I know, but I'm gonna tell you that you just said it right. The last time Mac Jones looked like a decent quarterback, who was the offensive coordinator? Josh
McDaniels.
Exactly. So while I'm not calling for Mac Jones, I would go the rookie route. Draft the rookie that you feel best fits your system and roll with him next year with Aiden O'Connell also on the roster. Let's just move on from the Jimmy G era. But don't be surprised if the Raiders are connected to Mac Jones, because I feel like there's a divorce coming between the Patriots and Mac Jones and Bill Belichick. I don't think Mac Jones or Bill Belichick are going to be back in New England next year, in my opinion.
And that's where I know Mac Jones for sure won't be back. But you look at it's a catch-22 because Bill Belichick is too close to 800 for them to get rid of him before he hits it.
That is true. That is true. Well, I mean, we'll see how the season ends up. Not saying that even Bill Belichick would end up in Vegas, but I will say that as long as the Raiders are winning football games, you might see more Patriots come to Las Vegas. I know fans don't want to hear that, but it is the reality.
In front office and in other ways, but again, that's neither here nor there because we're not there right now. We're at a 3-3 football team, second place in the division, with an interesting game on Sunday between the Chiefs and the Chargers. Now, on one hand, I have no confidence in the Chargers to do any type of dirty work whatsoever, but the Chiefs have looked as bad as I can remember, solely due to the fact that Eric Bieniemy is in Washington. For all that he doesn't do shit that I was hearing for so long, it sure seems to be Mike Brown with the Warriors situation. That don't look like the Chiefs no more.
You know, it's funny. I expected the Chiefs to look like this last year. Now, I understand it's still a good football team record-wise, but I expected their offense to be underwhelming last year after they got rid of or traded Tyreek Hill. So maybe Eric Bieniemy had some of that secret sauce that the Chiefs were cooking when they were cooking teams on the football field. So I think they're gonna. I know they like Rashee Rice, their rookie second rounder. I get that, but I think they're gonna make a move at the trade deadline, which shows you that there's some urgency. I know they reacquired Mecole Hardman, but let's be honest, Mecole Hardman is a tier 3-4 wide receiver. Shout out to Steve Smith Sr. for pointing out what a tier 3 wide receiver is.
Yes,
if you caught that joke. Just go back to last Thursday and you get what I'm trying to say.
My ninja. I don't fuck with you. These youngsters, boy, I tell you. And of all people, you would think, well, he's young, so he didn't know that Steve Smith's gangster has been tried and approved on many occasions in every hood near you. Ain't nobody trying Steve Smith except for your dumb ass.
he learned. He learned definitely that day what it was.
And he let you off easy.
Definitely did.
He let you off easy.
Give Steve Smith the mic. He's gonna let you know what he thinks. No chaser.
I wouldn't have it any other way. But so this offense, I've looked at this offense, and while I would be early, it was easy to point the finger at Josh McDaniels for the questionable, and that's being quite generous decision making that he's exuded at the late game clock management and overall lack of urgency and time deficient situations, we'll call them.
That's putting it
The
nicely.
scheme, yeah, right. And choosing to rock with a quarterback that is incapable of throwing it more than 15 yards. Shout out to you, Kevin. As your starting quarterback that you're rocking with for the entire season. I've seen numerous fireable offenses that would have warranted instantaneous fire termination, but the offense is really capable quarterback, an average quarterback of really getting on a roll.
The Raiders just need us at this point. The Raiders just need a serviceable quarterback. You got Davante Adams, who's literally calling for the football in the nicest way possible. We talked about that before we got on air. And then you got Jacoby Myers, who's balling out. Not like people question the move because you had Hunter Renfrow, but for what it's worth, Jacoby Myers looks like a really good number 2 right now. Michael Mayer arrived on the scene last week against New England Patriots at 75 yards receiving, so he's on the come up. Trey Tucker, if he can throw a few more balls, Trey Tucker, I think this offense could be elite. They get a serviceable quarterback. But what irks me about what the Raiders are doing on offense, and it starts with Josh McDaniels because he obviously is the play caller. To me, he's not showing any faith in his offense. How many times have we watched Josh McDaniels just burn away time and settle for a field goal? And how many times do we say, I'm sure you said this plenty of times, field goals to win football games? You got to score touchdowns, especially once you get to the Miami Dolphins, the Lions on your schedule, the Chiefs, even though we talked about their offense, still, you got to score touchdowns. And too many times, I think Josh McDaniels was fine just settling for a field goal. Now, I get there are times where they didn't make a 3rd and 2 or, a 4th down conversion. I understand that. But when you don't show confidence in your offense, the guys also lose confidence. Not the Davante Adams of the world, because they hold themselves to a high standard. But some of the Joes on your offense are going to lose confidence in themselves because the coach doesn't have any confidence in us. So, I mean, what are we doing? What are we even doing here? We're settling for field goals. Daniel Carlson has to be our top point maker. Can't have it. And he's missed some. And he's made some. But you got to show some confidence in your offense. As you use the word urgency. And I just feel like, again, there's so many times where before halftime in certain situations, he's fine with just getting to the 30-yard line and kicking a long field goal versus going for the jugular and trying to score a touchdown. That irks me.
It almost looks like it's hard to say this considering where the Raiders are in terms of 3rd down conversions, but it almost looks like he's playing the clock instead of the opponent, and being okay with not winning games, not scoring 20 points is I'm not okay with it. Me and Davante are both from the South Bay area in California, and I mean, he said it as beautifully as it could be possibly said. He's like, listen, I understand that what it looks like is that I'm not open, but you see these 2 MFs over here? These 2 motherfuckers ain't shit, all right? Don't worry about them. Just give me the ball and watch how I do these 2 sorry dudes right here. Watch. They're going to be on a poster. They're going to be on Sports Center because I am about greatness. I am. You know what I'm saying? And if you having problems on offense scoring, there's a very simple explanation. You ain't giving me the ball enough.
I said this to Scott on Silver Black today. I said, remember there was a point in the broadcast, I don't know if you saw it, but there was a point where Davante Adams is having a conversation with Brian Hoyer. I'm willing to bet a few $100 that conversation was, if you see me in single coverage, throw me the damn ball. I don't care who it is on the other side of the field. If you see one man covering me, throw me the ball. Give me a chance. And I think that's part of what his frustration, well, he expressed his frustration on Wednesday. I think that was part of it. Like, I'm arguably, not arguably, he's probably saying I'm the best wide receiver in the league. No disrespect to Justin Jefferson, but I'm the best wide receiver in the league. If you see me one-on-one with somebody, I'm open. Automatically, I'm open. I've heard over the past 2 weeks, wide receivers saying, look, I'm always open. I heard Jamar Chase say this. I'm always open. If you got Davante Adams on your team in a single coverage, he's open.
He's open. Football. Yeah. And not only that, but the way he took it a step further, and he said, look, I don't care who I got to talk to. If I got to talk to the quarterback, if I got to talk to the coach, hell, Dave Champ and Mark is a phone call away. But something, you know what I'm saying? Like Obama said, it's time for a change. Your boy needs to start getting fed around here. My ribs are showing. We hungry, bro. We need to rock. You know what I'm saying? I can say I done said it about as nicely as I can and made sure to properly phrase. I'm not saying anything about the coaching. I'm not saying anything about the play calling at that moment. But your boy, it needs the football.
Less check downs, more targets for Davante Adams. That's where I would take it from. Because then people will say, well, where are the targets going to come from? Are you going to take it from Michael Mayer? Are you going to take it from Jacoby Myers? Listen, I'm giving Davante Adams, 10 to 15 targets if he wants it. Because I actually think he's going to have a big game against the Bears. I think that's going to be the game where you're going to see close to 200 yards and a couple of scores. Because anytime he demands the football, he gets what he wants. Best wide receiver in the league, he's getting the ball.
Absolutely. And it shouldn't have had to come to that, but it is what it is. It really shouldn't have. There's a whole lot of things it shouldn't have to come with. But I will say the one thing that's been a dictator of what's going on has been the pass protection and the play of the offensive line. And since they moved, everybody told me Dylan Parham was a left guard, but since they moved him, the offensive line has been in shambles. Now, the numbers on some particular website will say that the pass protection has been at upper average, upper middle of the pack, and I guess over the course of the entire game it is, but it happens to fall apart at all the wrong times, and it's a big reason why Jimmy's thrown 8 interceptions, aside from the fact that he's got a below average NFL arm.
And then I'm sure I'm the only one who warned fans about Jimmy Garoppolo's limitations, right? So a lot of people wanted to throw out Jimmy G's a winner. So that's going to rub off on the Raiders. He's just going to walk in the door. He's going to wave his winning wand, and the Raiders are going to win a bunch of games because it's Jimmy Garoppolo, right? Not so much.
But he didn't have the Niners D. But I got to say, at this point, the Raiders isn't too bad.
Not too bad, but he doesn't have a consistent, or I should say efficient run game, which he had consistently in San Francisco. So Jimmy Garoppolo, while every quarterback needs a supporting cast, I think Jimmy Garoppolo is more so at the mercy of his offensive line and run game than a lot of the other quarterbacks. And that's how I would rank my quarterbacks. That's why Jimmy G for me is in the 20s if you're ranking starting quarterbacks. He needs a lot more help than most other quarterbacks. Now he's not getting that from the run game. As you said, the defense is a surprise. But is that a sustainable way to win when your quarterback has more interceptions than touchdowns? I would say no.
I would agree with you. We said it earlier. The average quarterback play will make this a playoff team at this point. Average quarterback play. It's been bad.
But this is why you give Aiden O'Connell a legitimate shot. I had a Bleacher Report Live on Wednesday, and I said, if Aiden O'Connell balls out against the Bears, I understand it's the Bears, 29th ranked pass defense. I get all of that. But you give him another shot. Have him play against the Detroit Lions and see how he looks. Because how much worse than Jimmy Garoppolo could he possibly be?
The only thing that I would say that Jimmy would have on him at this point is pocket awareness.
And you can get that with some experience. Just let the kid play. I would say let the kid play.
Yeah, and that would have been the only knock that I had, because had he not caused those 3 turnovers or those 3 fumbles, one of them they got back, and ultimately the interception at the end, Raiders lose that game by a touchdown. That's a different outcome.
Absolutely. And I think there's something to be said about having a rookie learn from his mistakes. It was his first start. Like I said, he made some mistakes. There are some costly turnovers that you just can't have. But allow him to build on some of the good things that he did, because there are also some good things in that performance. So I'm interested to see what he does against this Bears defense. And then if he's going to get a shot to play against the Lions, because we still don't know what the severity of Jimmy Garoppolo's injury is or how many games he's going to miss. Pretty much going to miss Sunday's game against the Bears, but he could possibly miss that Lions game. And if you get Aiden O'Connell out there, that would be a real big test for him. And if he could show up and show that the moment is not too big for him, maybe you got something in the kid. Who knows?
As much as I like him, I don't think he's going to even be competing for the starting quarterback spot next year. I anticipate that will be an early round drafted quarterback.
I said unless he looks like the second coming of one of the NFL greats at the position, the Raiders should draft a quarterback. Yes. And if you're not going to draft the quarterback in the first round, you draft the quarterback to compete with Aiden O'Connell. May the best man win. Let that quarterback start for week 1 of the 2024 season.
Well, and the way that it'll shape out is if he's not the second coming, you'll have that upper tier draft pick up in the top 10 somewhere, so you'll be able to get the new guy anyway. I would love to see him go. I would love to see him be that guy, but the reality is the man is a monument in the pocket. He's got poor pocket awareness, no elusiveness. And if you really want to be super technical, that his arm is limited as well. His timing is exceptional, which is how he's able to make his deep passes work.
Right, and there is an issue with his deep ball accuracy and stretches. I will say that as well. While he can stretch the field, accuracy is not all the way there yet. You saw that at Purdue, and that's where some of the interceptions came from. And all interceptions are not on quarterbacks, but some of them are, and some of them were on Aiden O'Connell. So, I'm just excited to see what assuming that he does start, he should be the starter. There shouldn't even be a question if it's him or Brian Hoyer. I get Brian Hoyer made a few nice passes against the Patriots, but let's be real here. With Brian Hoyer in the game, he stepped in when it was 13-3, and the Raiders scored 8 points while Brian Hoyer was leading the offense. Let's not get too hyped when Brian Hoyer saying maybe Brian Hoyer can lead us to some wins. Games start at 0-0, not at 13-3 when he came in last week.
Said it. Not only that, but as we're sitting here celebrating the throws he made, let's not gloss over the fact that he threw into quadruple coverage in order to get Davante the ball.
I mean, man, some people.
This many.
Some people. There were some people like, oh, maybe Brian Hoyer should start. I'm like, no,
absolutely Brian Hoyer. Brian Hoyer doesn't want to start. I think that was the perfect outing for Brian Hoyer. Let me come with the lead, not blow the lead, get a touchdown, make a couple big throws so I can continue to sit on the bench and collect a check as the backup.
He is a late inning reliever. That's what he is. Not a starter. Let's not go there.
He's not even he is the setup man. You only want to get an inning, a quarter, maybe a half out of him tops. He did not want to see Brian Hoyer for more than 2 quarters. You don't.
I can't argue with you there. He's definitely on the way out. Like I said, if you move up for a quarterback in the 4th round, I'm not saying that quarterback has to have the makings of a future starter, but you at least owe it to see what he's got, right? Could he be a high-end backup? Can he hang around, or is he not fit for the league? You find that out by starting him and letting him play some games, some meaningful games.
And the course of these games will dictate it. But I've seen he could be he should be a high-end backup. I just think that physically he's a little bit too limited. And while I know that this is the system that doesn't require much dynamic abilities from the quarterback, because we like to have a mid-off with all 3 of ours, you're not going to win anything with a quarterback who's not capable of making guys miss in the pocket.
That's what worries me about the 2024 draft and Josh McDaniels' mindset of the quarterback position. He has not evolved with the quarterback position. Look at the Raiders quarterback room. Which one of those guys is an actual playmaker? Because that's the way the quarterback position is trending right now. You don't need a guy that's just going to be in the pocket. Of course, you need to throw from the pocket to be successful at the quarterback position. But you're seeing a lot more actual playmakers, guys who can extend plays, off-platform throws. If your offensive line's having a bad day, his mobility can make up for that. The Raiders don't have a quarterback on their roster that can do that right now. And that's what worries me about Josh McDaniels' quarterback selection process. Is he going to get that quarterback who can give him a little bit of a new wrinkle, some dynamic playmaking ability? We'll see.
Oh, you mean Jimmy's not getting it done with his legs?
I don't want Jimmy exposing himself to any extra hits ever, because I think Jimmy's been in the tent more than he's thrown touchdown passes this year. No lie. And I'm not making fun of the guy because he gets hurt, but it's the truth.
That's the truth. That's God's honest truth right there. I've got a problem with watching that man throw a check down pass, Mo. Watching the way that he throws a 3-yard pass irritates me to the bottom of my soul on why it is that I'm looking at a rookie quarterback throw a better fucking check down pass than Jimmy G.
I've watched some 49er games with Jimmy G, and there were times, and Jose Sanchez, shout out to him of SI.com, can tell you this. There are times where he just misses short passes. I don't know what it is. I just off target even on the short throws. Don't get it.
Yeah.
The easy stuff should be easy, right? But now what's
Right.
up with Jimmy G?
It's hard to watch. It's hard to watch. It's been very hard to watch. I hope that I was going to be able to see Jimmy G come in and make a difference. And the most truly disgusting thing about it, I don't know, we might have brought it up or not brought it up, is that statistically he's still better than the other guy.
That's the funny part. I'm not going to mention the name of the other guy, but people will know who we're talking about. People want him back, by the way. And I tell people, go pull up Pro Football Reference if you want. If you don't got a Pro Football Focus account, I get it. You don't want to pay for it. Pull up Pro Football Reference just for a second.
ESPN.
And tell me where the Saints' red zone offense is, because it's if my memory serves me correctly, it's actually worse than the Raiders' red zone offense. I'm just saying. Just putting it out there.
They may have improved slightly, but I believe they were one spot underneath the Raiders' red zone offense. One for we would just no, you wouldn't, because all that the Saints were supposed to need was the defense too. They already had the running back, the wide receivers, and suddenly you see guys getting into it on the sidelines.
I think that quarterback had to apologize to one of his coaches. I think he publicly apologized. He was getting fired up. And I've been following some Saints reporters, not because of the quarterback who's there, but just because I follow the entire league. And it's never a good sign when you're 1 month into the season and you're writing articles and columns about how can we fix our offense. Not a good sign. Just saying.
Oh, that's about where we find ourselves.
Yeah, but at least it wasn't advertised as, well, Jimmy G is a top 10 quarterback, French top 10 quarterback. He just needs this and this and that, and he can get over the hump. No, not exactly. So a mid-tier quarterback is a mid-tier quarterback no matter where he plays.
That's no longer a mid-tier quarterback.
Lower bottom tier, top 20, top 25, whatever you want to call it.
Somewhere in there. But it's and through it all that aside, but through it all, for everything this team has been through, they're about to hit the sweet spot of their schedule. They're currently 500. The only team that should beat them should be the Lions. They have the opportunity to go to what that would be. Math is not my subject right now. What, 7-4?
What if they win straight out and lose to the Lions? Let's say they beat the Bears, lose to the Lions. Yeah, they got the Giants, they got the Jets coming up. Those
Jets might be a tough one. Jets will be a tough one too, but
because their defense, absolutely, I agree with you. But after that, it's Dolphins then Chiefs. So it's going to get real pretty quickly. So if the Raiders are going to make a run and surprise a lot of people, I said before the Patriots game, I said they have to at least go 3-2 to be taken seriously. You finished the next 5, and that was the Patriots, Bears, Giants, and Jets. You go to the next 5, and you're under 500 with that stretch of teams. Nobody's going to take you serious. You got to go at least 3-2. Now, I would say 4-1 was where I had them. But as you said, the Jets are going to be tough because of their defense. But look, the Raiders defense is playing pretty well. As we've said during this whole stream, if they can get serviceable play out of their quarterback position, they should be able to score 24, 27 points in a game. And if the defense does its job, you have a balanced squad all of a sudden. Now that maybe not a high tier upper echelon team, but a team that could definitely make some waves. Now we'll see what happens. Now, if they don't score 20 points against the Bears, right? And Aiden O'Connell stinks it up. I brought up the suggestion plenty of times. Maybe they go out and get another quarterback. Maybe they go out and get a quarterback for cheap. I could see them going out and get Jacoby Brissett. I know that sounds pie in the sky, wild, out of the nowhere type of suggestion, but I could see it definitely happen, especially if Jimmy Garoppolo's injury lingers on.
Serviceable, knows the system, previously worked with Josh and executed enough to get them to the postseason.
Doesn't turn the ball over either.
Doesn't turn the ball, and honest and truthfully, that right there is probably the single greatest detail of all of this. Between penalties and giveaways, if they can stop turning the ball over, your defense will make that push to get into the top 10 completely, because you'll stop putting them in disadvantaged situations. Am I ready to see? I was gonna say Jacoby Brissett has never had weapons the caliber that the Raiders have. It's incredible how this offense has been squandered, but it is what it is. They've still managed to find a way to get to 500, and it doesn't matter to as much as Davante is chasing greatness. The scoreboard reflects a W if you win by 1.
Agree with you there, but I think the general point though is if the Raiders want to take it to the next level, and as we said, they want to go on that run, Davante's got to see 10 to 15 targets a game, 10 at minimum. 10 if your run game is finally back on track. That's the only reason you see it on the lower side, maybe 9, 10 targets. But over the course of a game, a competitive game, Davante Adams his target value should be in the teens, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Well, so it should be, but if his is in the teens, then that means you're having a great day, because Jacoby Myers should be seeing double-digit targets as well. And what that may and with and our at we'll call a spade a spade. Fuck it, it's unfiltered truth. If you're going to continue to face Hunter Renfrow out like you are, don't put him on the field. Put Trey Tucker out there and have your explosive element to take the top off the coverage and open up space for your 1 and 2 receivers, and have it all work cohesively and truly get this offense to go where it is. I like Hunter Renfrow. You like Hunter Renfrow. Everybody in Raider Nation wants to see Hunter eat, but at this time, it just doesn't look like that's going to happen.
It's not, but I said this in the offseason that this was going to happen. I don't know if I was on this show. I was on all of these shows, and people were saying, you hate Hunter Renfrow. And I'm like, no, man. The writing's on the wall. You draft a speedy wide receiver who's primarily playing in the slot in the 3rd round. You get a guy in DeAndre Carter who could take away Hunter Renfrow's punt return, special teams contributions. You get Jacoby Myers. Now, while he's playing mostly outside now versus in the slot in New England, he's clearly the number 2 wide receiver behind Davante Adams. And then by the way, Hunter Renfrow's contract for 2023 became fully guaranteed on the 3rd day of the new league year. So here you are, you added these guys in free agency. Now, they didn't probably know they were going to draft a wide receiver that early. Maybe they did. But you let his contract lock in those guarantees, and you knew you were phasing him out. So now you're at a point where you're not going to use him. And now if you trade him, you're only going to get a bag of peanuts for him. It was, to me, that was insane to me.
Paying him in the first place if you weren't going to use him was pretty crazy to me. But after he bumped his head, we'll call it, things changed.
I don't know. The Raiders haven't been handling contracts very well. Let's just say that. Now, they did get something for Darren Waller, which is good. But let's remember, they had just extended him before they traded him. Derek Carr giving him that no trade clause and having to have him walk away without getting anything in return. And now you have Hunter Renfrow, whose trade value was at a high after 2021. Drops low after 2022, but now if you want to trade him, you're not building up his value, and you still want to move him. You're not going to get much. Dave Ziegler and his guys have to get it together when it comes to handling contracts and getting out of deals and being able to get something in return when you want to move off a certain player.
The easiest thing for them would have been to play Hunter and to feed him.
But exactly.
Somehow they didn't get that memo, so I don't know what to tell them about that. That there's been a lot of bizarre moves that have been like, it's not going to help you, but this is a new regime, front office that has to take their lumps and learn the hard way, I guess. But this would be a more interesting conversation to pursue if we weren't early in the season sitting at 500. I'm just not going to go down that road because there are numerous things that could be done and addressed. But 500 is a good place to be. We brought up the winning streak. We talked about Davante and his demands.
Demands for greatness.
Now, just out of did you know he was looking kind of swole there? I was like, damn, he looked a little skinny, brother, but looked like he been hitting the weights a little bit. He just needed to show you guys one time what it was.
Hey, he about to yoke somebody up if he don't get his targets. That's what it is. He flexing. That's what that's about. Like, look, y'all not gonna play me as some lanky wide receiver.
You see all of this, say, boy, with it. I'm him.
I'll put you in the Kamara lock. You don't get me my targets. That's what he's trying to say.
Now the funniest part about it was I said last year, what I say, week 5 was when he was going to get to that point.
Just about, yeah. And we're about we're about there.
Right. Week 5, there. You could see it on his face. Week 6, week 6, he leaving post game pressers early. Show up for first day of week 7, ready to strangle a motherfucker.
That progression, it was building up. This is the crescendo right here.
Look, he already said he was going to go to whoever it had to be, whether it's the quarterback, the coach, somebody going to get him the ball.
If you see Davante Adams shooting at the gun range, you know he's at another. He's on another level. He's sending a different type of message.
Yeah, just letting off
just letting off a little steam at the gun range. Don't mind me.
No, it's good. Look, oh man, I'm having too much fun with that.
Yeah, man.
All
love Davante. All love.
Yeah, for sure. And honest and truthfully, bro, I'd be the exact same way. I'd be out there being a good soldier, trying my best to hold it together and say as eloquently as I possibly can. If you don't throw me the fucking ball, I'm going to fucking explode.
It's built into wide receivers, a great wide receiver's DNA. They want the football on every down. I remember CeeDee Lamb also said it, over after the Monday night win against the Chargers. What about Brandon Cooks being involved in that offense? And I believe it was Scott Van Pelt asked him, like, how does it, how do you handle being a team player, balancing being a team player and always wanting the football? And sometimes it comes down to the result. But as Davante said, the results are what they are, but I want to be great. I don't want to just win football games. I want to be great.
I don't blame him. I want to be great too. I want to have blowout wins, and I don't want to have a heart attack every week. And the answer to your question, Wes, is no.
No, definitely not. Wes Williams, no. Hoyer's
no.
You
don't want that. I know that the deep pass. I was right there with you. I saw the deep pass and almost got beside myself too, because I was just like, oh my God, they threw it. It was deep,
and it was the longest play of the season.
and they caught it. And if Brian Hoyer was really as good as everybody seems to think he was off that one pass, he'd have led Trey Tucker and he'd have scored instead of getting tackled for 48 yards, excuse me. There was nobody in the middle of the field when he threw that, so there's no reason why he should have been tackled from behind, except for the fact that was underthrown.
Underthrown, yep. There you go, and that's why Brian Hoyer is not Nick Foles.
Nope.
That's why it's not.
And why he would be happy to continue to be the backup, so that you didn't know that he couldn't throw and make the throws that he needed to make. He was just putting it on bodies to be safe and say, "Look, I made it."
He is what he is. He's a mentor in the quarterback room. Let him teach the young guys. Keep him off the field, though.
It's only one young guy in there.
Yeah, true. Well, if you're bringing in another one next year and you want him to hang around and you move off of Jimmy Garoppolo, you keep him around for that. Hold the clipboard. Be an assistant quarterback coach. That could be something for him in the future. Who knows?
He could do that and not take up a roster spot. Or actually, I guess next year he would be the emergency third quarterback and you bump up Aiden. But The reality is, honest and truthfully, with the exception, if Aiden shows to be anything, you could do without this entire quarterback room.
Yeah, you could just totally revamp it, starting with your top draft pick in the 2024 draft, in my opinion. And hopefully Aiden O'Connell is at least a high-end backup. And then you roll with it from there. You know, if you want to keep Hoyer around as an emergency third quarterback, fine. But there's no reason why after year one you continue to have Aiden O'Connell be QB3. Like, there's no reason for that, especially if he shows that the moment, again, is not too big for him.
Right, because if he's going to be quarterback 3, he doesn't need to be there.
Right, exactly.
Anything you want to promote before we get out of here?
Silver and Black Today with my co-host Scott Branson, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Pacific Time, West Coast time for you people out in the West, left coast. Bleacher Report lives every Monday and Wednesday, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 2:30 p.m. Pacific Time. Also, post-game Raider coverage after every game. Right after the Raiders games are over, I'm on Bleacher Report Live, breaking it down, getting your reactions, getting your suggestions. Where are the Raiders headed? Where are they not headed? Who should be their quarterback? Will they fire Josh McDaniels? All of those fun discussions come up in the post-game, whether the Raiders win or lose. So I enjoy that, and I enjoy the fans joining me for those chats.
And that's a lot of work. If you guys were listening to all the things, I almost lost count. That was just, man, this dude works hard to bring you that quality content. And this is just what he does for Raider Nation. He covers the entire NFL and has this encyclopedic knowledge of everything that goes on, except for when it comes to fantasy football and beating me.
I believe Mr. Pornstar Cruisers, I believe that name is coming up on my schedule pretty soon. So we'll have to. There you go. That name had me rolling.
Get back.
I saw that name. I was like, what are we doing here? What are we doing, man?
Hey, we go cruise all the way to the championship, baby. Hop on.
You're doing pretty well, but you know who's at the top of the league right now. Just saying.
And it's a momentary thing. What goes up must come down.
I'll see you in the championship round, maybe.
That's right. As long as you're looking up at the end. I'm your host, Phil Robinson, Midtown Mo, Bleacher Report, Raider content provider extraordinaire, personal friend of the program, all of that good stuff. Thank you for tuning in. You could be doing a whole bunch of stuff. You're here with us. We're doing this thing. I give you all an unfiltered salute, and we out.
This is one word, 2 syllables. Ridiculous, right?